Okay. So any other question?
A question. Where actually, what's the application of Flask?
Hmm. Good question. Do you remember what we started the first class we had in the Flask series? Hmm?
That's the first class.
Yeah. Our first class in Flask.
I know that is used for web development.
Yes, exactly. Hold on, I'll bring up the document now. We talked about web development to create awareness of um, web development, and then we showed you the part Flask is used for. So Flask basically is a framework that you use to do development for the web, okay? And it is Python based. It is not the only framework. We still have another framework called Django.
Yes.
Um, okay, I just don't know where that presentation which I showed you. Just hold on, I'll find it and share it again so that we'll see. Ah, I just can't remember where I kept it. Anyways, let me try to just explain it. So, we are trying to create just as if you're creating an application on the web where people can go and create, do one or two things, right? Now, Flags help us in that back end logic of what happens as people visit your application. For example, what we're seeing here now, where we started from, is just we imported Flask, create the Flask app. Now we then go ahead to um, access this application. It's just like um, a website name. Okay. Remember in that class we told you that when you try to access a website, what happens first of all is that your device accesses the domain name server. In the domain name server, it goes there and picks the IP address of the website you're trying to access. Okay, so a domain name server kind of keeps a record of websites and their IP addresses, because over the internet communication is made using through IP addresses. Okay, now all this one we say we are accessing Google, for instance. Google is not just hanging in space. Google is in a computer somewhere. When you say google.com, you're just going into somebody's computer, okay, which is owned by the company. And then whatever information that they store with their application for that route is what you're going to be given. For instance, now if you look at, let's not even go far, this Flask app we are doing now, we are doing it locally on our computer. Whenever you run Flask app, you look at the terminal, you will see something like running on, you see this part I highlighted here. Okay, is an IP address, but this IP address is not on the internet. This IP address is local. So let me just write it here. So this is more like HTTP then slash 127.0.0.1 5,000. Okay, so here now I make it a comment. Good. So now this root, remember I told you that domain name server changes um a website name to an IP address. So it's going to look just like this. Okay, Benjamin. Hello.
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay, so it's going to look just like this, for example. But this is what
Mm,
Flask is giving you on your computer locally. So it's assumed that this is the IP address. This is local IP address for your computer locally, not on the internet. So
mm,
when you can assume this to be a website you're trying to address or access. When you're accessing a website, you put the website, but the DNS will give your browser the IP address of the website. So
mm.
your browser will then use the IP address to go and pick it in the internet.
Access.
So now this is just how it is. When you go on, maybe if this is equal to www.ourflask.com, okay, this ourflask.com is changed to look like an IP address, which is this. So when you land on the website, the first thing you see is the index page, is the home page. Okay. So this route now we created using Flask is that route for the home page. So if this is our application, when somebody comes into our application and asks for the home page, this is the how Flask will send the home page to him. It will use this route slash, or you can also add another route. For instance, someone can say he wants his app to have, then he can have here slash home. Okay. Now, if you put two decorators, they will still both call this function. So when you get to this place and ask for this base root, this is what you will get. This function, whatever we write in this function, is what will be executed. Right now, all we are saying, remember, we are just starting. We are just saying send back a text, hello world. That is the reason why when you just click on this link now from your Flash application or type it
Mm.
in your browser, what you will see is what this function presents to us.
The home page
Okay,
here.
the home page. Now we are just starting. We'll get to a point where this will bring a full HTML page. This function will send it to the user. When the user asks for that website or that IP address, then the page will be returned with this function. Then we are just trying to let us understand and appreciate routes, that you might still have another route on this website, which could be, we could have another route here. And for instance, you can say slash about, slash about. If you go to a company's website, for instance, you can still see their name, then slash about.
Yes. Mm.
So now this is the landing route. You can have it as this one slash, or you can even call it anything, but let's just call it our home. So if somebody, instead of saying slash about, if somebody types slash home, it will still execute this one. Okay. Or even if you did not type slash home, just this, it will execute this one as your home page, your landing page. But now let's now say you needed to have another route to say about, where you're going to describe what your company is about or whatever your application is about. So this is how it looks in reality. Okay, it's a website with that root. Then the root now and the website is changed to something like an IP address and the root. So you use the IP address to locate the computer over the internet. Remember, this is not an internet IP address, this is just a local one within your computer, because you have not, the Flash application, whatever we are doing, we've not hosted it. We are just launching it within our system, our computer, and working with it. So this route now tells it, okay, can I have like an about this thing? Then when you do that, it comes and runs this function. You must not even call this function. You mustn't call it about. Someone can even, instead of calling it about, someone can call it info. Okay,
or
but
contact.
you know that this function here is what you're
Mm.
going to use to display information about yourself. Okay, so now we're just doing roots first of all. Remember, I said later we'll graduate to make this thing like a web page on its own. Okay, sometimes even without, okay, let's go to the next one now. Someone may, in this website now, let's just say we also have our names stored. Okay, maybe you're a user in this website, then you can have another root that says user, then slash your name. If your name is James, it will be James. If your name is John, it will be John. This root now is one we are just showing us that there could be some kind of dynamic root like this. This type of dynamic root is used maybe like for everybody who is registered on our application. When you're registered, when you sign in, okay, when you sign in, like you go to Google now to check your email, you can go and sign in. That time you sign into Google, Google now can open a dynamic route to show you your own email, and that route can bear your name, for instance. This is something like that. So that's why it's dynamic. This name is not fixed. Like about will always be about. If I have contact plus contact, it will always be contact. But this one now we have maybe your name listed in the school. When somebody comes and checks using your name, put your name here, the um, function will still be able to deliver. But what we are saying, the key important thing in dynamic route is that you have this variable name in this um, less than and greater than sign. Okay, you have a variable name. That same variable name will pass to the function. So the function running this route have to receive that name. So when you pass the variable to the root, it comes here. Then in the function, you use the name. Here we just return. Everything is simple now. Okay. Here we just returned welcome. You put the name to the application or to our application. Fine. You could still have a logic here. Okay. You could still have a logic here that we run. And after running, you will then have something before you return this. You could perform a manipulation on the name and then do something. Because in a real application now too, if if we just say Google now, your Gmail, you sign in, it won't just come and return a sentence. When you sign in for that your name root, it will probably go and query database.
Mhm.
From the database, you have all your sent email addresses, you have all your received email addresses, you have all your drafts, and arrange it in a certain way before now returning it to you. Are you getting? So that you don't get confused about what we're doing. This is just like the basics of Flask to show you that okay, there are roots. This is the home root. This is about. This is a dynamic root. Is it clear now?
Yes.
So we are like
Just to go
this.
and make more research on it.
And also, I'll say you can still follow the class for now because we are just starting. We will still elaborate on all um, this stuff and it will become clearer. So if you watch the
Yeah.
class of today, we just showed you the basics of Flask. We showed you how to run Flask without using this. Okay, without using this guy, you can run it using the command we took from the documentation. Okay, on the command line, you can just run it. And we also showed if if you don't run it in the debug mode, this one now I did here by setting debug equal to true is debug mode. If you don't run it in debug mode, when you make an update, you will need to shut it down, start it again before you see the update. But in debug mode, the moment you save the file, like this file now, I've made a lot of changes. The moment I save the file, you if you watch your terminal, you will see that it will notice it and refresh. So okay, I've already killed the app. So let's just say if I want to run this application, so it's Python and it's Flask app.py. So if I hit enter, so now the application is running. Now if I save this file, you see it refreshes. Okay, now there's an error. What is the error? Like something not well spelled. Okay, there's an E missing in this new root I added. So I add the root. Okay, and then I'll save it. So okay, because of that, it broke my application. Okay, no problem. The error made my
What?
application to break. Okay,
Mm.
so I will rerun it again. It's running okay. Let me say I make a change. Instead of hello world, I can just say hello.
Hello,
This is
hello,
the
good name.
greatest application. Blah blah blah. Okay, anything I just saying. If I then save it and make that update, but because I'm in debug mode, you see that it detected the change, okay, and restarted the application. So with this, you can be making changes and just going to the browser to view it, refresh it, you see your changes. So of course, if you're building an application, any small thing you do, you want to see the effect. So that's how you do it in debug mode. And in debug mode, you see a lot more. If there's an error in your application in debug mode, you will see the error clearly. So okay, let's try and see what I mean. If I remove debug mode, save it, it's restarting. Okay. Now let me put an error in my code, for instance. In about, I will now say A is equal to 5 divided by 0. Of course, you know this is an error. So let me save it. Has the app restarted? Why is it stopping? Okay, now because it's not in debug mode, it's not going to restart automatically. I need to um kill it and restart it. Okay, so now we're not in debug mode. Okay, let's now go back to this our application. So now this is it. This is our application. So this is the home page per se. Now let me now add slash about. Yeah. So I put the error in about. So see what happens. It just says internal server error. The server encountered an error. Okay. What is the error? I don't know. How do I check and trace it? It's difficult because the bug is not on. Okay. Of course, but if you look at your terminal, you can see the details, some details of your error here on your terminal.
Mm.
But now
Yes.
let's change it back to the board mode. So I close it and go to debug equals to true. So now I've turned it to debug mode and I save it and run the app again. Now it's running on debug mode. Let's go and see how the error behaves. Let's refresh it. So you see now, because on debug mode, you can then see more details of the error. Okay, so debug mode is more like you're the person working on it. So it will show you this. When you host an app for the public, you're not going to host it in debug mode.
Verification error.
You
Yeah.
get. But now, because you're the
Mm.
person working on the application, now you can begin to say, oh, there's an what is happening. When you trace it, you now see that 5 divided by 0 in your code that is causing this problem. Then you can go back and fix it. The problem goes. So that's an advantage of debug mode. Okay. So
Yeah.
any other question so far about Flask today?
Bloomberg the Django, Python the Django.
Hmm?
None
Remember,
for
it's
me.
just
Oh.
starting now, so that's it. At
Mm.
least now we are now beginning to understand roots. That's what this class is just for the roots that we can serve on our application. Of course, if you have an application, you now you just imagine it like pages of your application, right? In my applications, you have welcome page, landing page. I can say, okay, log in. When the user logs in, what do you want the user to see? Welcome to. But what about when he signs out or logs out? What do you want him to see? Is a root. So those different views that you're giving to the user are like different routes your application may have. Okay. You will grow ahead to a point where you find out that some of these routes you may not be able to view them except you're logged in. Just the same way, if you go to some application, it's only when you log in you can do some things. If you're not logged in, you can't do something. But those are still a little bit far. Flags will help us handle it. That's why it's a framework. It makes easy a lot of these things instead of us writing them by ourselves the way it's supposed to be. Right? Flags is writing them for us on our behalf, so it is kind of abstracted for us those heavy loading to display these routes. Okay, Flags simplifies it. You can just write a function and the function does something and you return a route for the user. Okay, so I think that's it for the class of today. This is just the basics. So
Yeah.
I hope it's a bit clear.
Yes, sir.
I
More
have an
especially the
assignment I will give us to do. I will send it.
okay,
I will send it via um,
the platform.
the platform. So okay, but for now I can stop recording. Let me stop recording. Stop sharing and then